Welcome to today's webinar, courtesy of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center in Louisville. Discover no-cost, valuable business services to help you thrive, whether starting your entrepreneurial journey or scaling your existing business. We have the resources and expertise to help you succeed. For more information, please visit our website or text 502-977-5800. Thank you for joining us today. Feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions or engage with our speaker. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Toolkit Tuesday. I'm Dave Etkin, the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. And if you're joining us for the first time, Toolkit Tuesday is our weekly 1-hour webinar where we bring in our experts, entrepreneurs, and specialists to help you sharpen your skills and grow your business. As always, I'm joined with my good friend and coworker, Janet Flaw. How are you, Janet?
I'm doing good today. How are you today? How are you doing today? See, we had troubles on the front end already, and so
Right.
we'll just fill
Well,
it over into here. Yeah.
Janet, you
Hi,
know
Dave.
me well, and you know I love a good cold and rainy, rainy day that's dreary and windy and all that stuff. I love that sort of thing. So it's a good day for me. So
Good day.
um, yeah. So just a quick reinforcement, quick note who we are and what we do. You know, we're part of the national work. The Small Business Development Center is a part of a national network, and we've been helping small businesses for over 40 years here in Louisville. We're funded by the Small Business Administration, which means all our services are at no cost to you. And here in Louisville, we're here to serve you. Our team focuses on helping entrepreneurs start, grow, and scale their businesses. We go from first-time founders trying to get started off to established business owners ready to expand and access capital. You know, some of our specialties are especially access to capital, helping you find and prepare loans and loan proposals, financial analysis. And then, you know, my personal favorite is startup coaching to help business owners who want to launch quickly and affordably. You know, so we're here to help, and please reach out to us. We're looking forward to talking to you. So that's enough for me. But before we get going and we meet our guest, just because we do have a little technology challenge every now and then, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a toolbar, and right down there, if you don't, hover your cursor over it, it should pop up, and there you'll see the chat feature. You just click on the chat, it should pop right up. And if you wouldn't mind just saying hello and tell me your name and where you're joining from, that you can see and hear us okay, and we'll get going. So this is actually my favorite thing to do, is because I get to see, you know, where everybody's joining from. So we got a couple note takers popped in here already, but that happens. I do that. I use that myself, actually. So hello from me. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. All right. Hey, who was that? Oh, Don. Hey, Don, how are you? And then there is, was it Deborah from Alabama? Hey, April. April's one of our team members up here in Northern Kentucky. It's good to see you, April. Thanks for joining today. I know you're out there. There's a bunch of you guys coming in. I can see you coming in on my screen. So please don't be shy. Just tell me your name and where you're joining from so we can see everybody's coming in. There's Tia from Louisville. Jennifer from Lexington. How are you? Monica, Houston, Texas. Monica, you've got the distance award this time so far. Hey, Matt. Good to see everybody. And I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to join us. It really means a lot to me. So, as you know, I'm really interested in improving operations of small businesses. And I have this philosophy that I believe that big companies get big because they have figured out best practices. And I don't think if you're a big company, those practices are exclusive to the size. I think you can take those practices and bring those down into your small business and use those to get a leg up. And so I've really been interested in the Six Sigma program. And so I've invited my good friend, Trey Runyon, to come and talk about that. He is a Six Sigma certified. He's a great entrepreneur. He's owned decent sized trucking company that he built from zero. He's also working in manufacturing now. He's a great resource. Works in this stuff every day. And so, Trey, how are you today?
Good afternoon, Dave. Doing good. You?
Good. Oh, like I said, a rainy, cold day that's dark. Love it. Can't get enough of it. So,
Good deal. Good deal.
yeah. So I'm going to, jump on in there, share your screen, and while Trey is setting up, just, this is a great opportunity for everybody out there to really talk to an expert. So use this chat feature to ask any questions or have any comments, and we'll jump in and get everybody's questions answered. It's a really important, to be engaged with experts. This is how we learn. So, Trey, why don't you take it away, and I'll be here on the sidelines with my notes and my pen, and we're ready to go.
All right. Sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank David and Janet for the opportunity to just discuss a light version of Six Sigma. Again, my name is Trey Runyon. To give you a brief background of my work history and my journey, was a national sales manager at Wave TV for 5 years. Also started, as Dave said, my own trucking company from scratch. I did that for 11 years. It was a logistics company, really. Did some warehousing as well. And now I'm currently with a manufacturing company. I'm director of operations. And we do stampings, progressive stampings from presses from 200-ton all the way to 600-ton presses. And we do it for the automotive industry. We're tier 2. And what we're here to talk about today is the steps of Six Sigma. And again, this will be just an introduction to it, light version, the history, some of the terminology, and some of the methodologies. As we move forward here, apologize for any technical difficulties.
There you go. You got it.
Now, Six Sigma, when understood and implemented, can help elevate your business by continuously improving employee culture, customer relationships, and the quality of your final goods and service. Becoming Six Sigma certified will solidify these foundational necessities for sustainable growth. Now, a history of Six Sigma. The company most associated with Six Sigma was Motorola. Now, Motorola began as Alvin Manufacturing in 1928, and they developed a battery eliminator device for the radios. The Alvin Manufacturing changed their name to Motorola in 1947. Motorola became a leader in car radios and radio communication. Now, this is a fun fact about Motorola. Motorola manufactured the first commercial handheld mobile phone in 1983. Now, the most notable salesperson who introduced and popularized Six Sigma was Jack Welch. He was with GE. Now, he was with GE from 1981 to 1990. And the history of Six Sigma can be traced back to the automotive industry. Now, there are levels of Six Sigma certification. Yellow Belt introduces you to Six Sigma, show you how to identify inefficiencies, map out processes, apply structured problem-solving techniques to real-world challenges, and work as team members and carry out tasks given by superiors to complete projects. Your Yellow Belt certification is a good way to get familiar with all the methodologies of Six Sigma, and you can become a team member by learning that way. Now, the next level up from the Yellow Belt is the Green Belt certification. This qualifies you to work independently as a team lead in projects. You are an assistant to Black Belts. And then there's the Black Belt certification. Qualifies you to be a project leader, will have the most experience and knowledge as far as Six Sigma methodologies. Black Belts receive more extensive training. Black Belts also coach, develop, and advise other managers. And then there's also the next level up as the Master Black Belt. Master Black Belt, you are certified to train and give certifications to Yellow Belt and Green Belts. And what I want to also do is clarify the difference between Lean and Six Sigma. Lean focuses on improving process efficiency. An example I can use is one of our operators may be tasked to put out 30 parts an hour to be efficient. However, he may be producing 20 parts an hour, and that's not efficient. So what Lean helps you do is find out what exactly throughout the process is inefficient. Is it the operator? Is it the equipment? Or is there something else? Now, Six Sigma focuses on quality and consistency. Six Sigma helps you find the level of quality needed to satisfy your customers, but also helps you with standard operating procedures implemented to stay consistent with that level of quality. A definition of Six Sigma is a highly disciplined process, focuses on developing and delivering near perfect products and services. And I want to say near perfect, because nothing is perfect. And we'll give examples of that a little bit later. And there are three components that can be used to describe any process: inputs, the process, and the outputs. Inputs would be example of our plant where we have coils of steel come in, we have nuts, and we have different parts that come in that need to be added value to after we stamp parts. The process would be stamping parts. We do two ways. One is stamp to ship parts to our customers. The other is stamping, and then there's added value where we may do some welding with 4 parts, or welding with other parts, or welding nuts, or any other added value to the parts. Outputs would be the finished goods after the inputs process been done, and then the outputs are the finished goods that are shipped out. And when you are doing projects, there are 4 voices that need to be considered when you plan or decide to move forward or not to move forward with a certain project. First voice, EOC, is the voice of the customer. It must be reflected in the capabilities of the process. And then the voice of the business. This represents the voice of the organization. It must be considered during process design or redesign. It can include management style, financial resources, which must be considered as far as budgeting, your margins. Are you going to make money on the process? And other physical resources that support the organization. Another voice is the voice of the process. It is the voice that represents the capabilities and limitations of the specific process within the organization. And one of my favorites is the voice of the employee. The capabilities, limitations, motivation associated with those who will be part of the process. And the reason that I like the voice of the employee, we have some tenured employees that work certain processes, and we focus on new business on certain processes that these guys are cross-trained on. Their input is very valuable, but it also gives them a sense of value and partnership with the company, and it helps change the culture too when they're involved. And we actually may use their ideas in moving forward, or we may use their ideas and input to not move forward. But that helps a lot when we bring in employees that feel valued. Now, Six Sigma is a statistical term that focuses on a variation. And a variation can be a measure of the differences associated with an output to the next, one output to the next. The output of every process suffers from some variation. Now, there are different acronyms that I like to discuss. These two are dealing with quality. CTQ is critical to quality. Those dimensions of a product or service that are instrumental in delivering quality outcomes. And then there's COPQ, that's the cost of poor quality. Estimate of the cost to the organization for delivering unacceptable quality. Now, the Kaizen is a Japanese word for continuous improvement. There was a distribution center here locally that I worked with for about a year, and as incentives, they gave prizes for a nice contest with prizes for different employees. Once a month, whoever had the best continuous improvement idea, and they would receive a day off. Now, after the 3 months were over during the quarter, what they would do is the best idea of the 3 with the continuous improvement idea, they would send to corporate. And if corporate implemented that idea throughout all the PDCs across the whole country, that person receive a day off, actually a week off, I'm sorry. And this is one of the ways they did to incentivize continuous improvement. And when they did this, even though a process may have been improved to a certain point where you would think that it could not be improved, with this motivation, there were always great ideas to continuously improve certain projects and certain inefficiencies throughout the plant. And metrics is concrete measurements that minimize intuition and opinion in proposing and executing Six Sigma projects. And it takes out all the guesswork when you have the right metrics. And one of the methodologies that we'll go over, the 5 steps of the MEG. And the MEG stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Now, by define, you get a clear definition of the problem. When you measure, you clarify the problem through measurements. When you analyze, you use the collected data to identify the root cause of the problem. And what is meant by improve? You develop, implement the solutions to address the identified root cause. What is meant by control? Once you improve and develop the solutions, you find a way to maintain the consistency of the improvements. Now, the other methodology are the 7 wastes, and that's transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overprocessing, overproduction, and defects. Examples of waste for transportation. It takes too long to load or unload trailers. Trucks are broke down. Trucks are stuck in traffic. That's a waste. Inventory, that can be affected by not calculating or counting your inventory properly, not knowing what your inventory is by having FIFO, first in, first out, keeping track of it. There are other ways of not just maintaining inventory levels where they need to be. Now, motion, that is a waste dealing with inefficiencies of your forklift drivers or your material handlers that have to drive all across the plant to get jobs done. When you have your plant laid out appropriately, that prevents waste. Waiting. Waiting happens when we have a press operator stamps out 5 parts, and those 5 parts need to be welded together as a second part. The welder has to wait on those 5 parts. If the stamping operator is pressing out 4 parts and he's lagging behind on the 5th part, the welder has to wait for that 5th part, not continue his process. So that's inefficient as well. Over-processing could be the welder actually welding an extra nut unnecessarily on a process that he thinks need to be efficient, but he's not going through a standard process or standard operating procedure. Overproduction. Overproduction happens every now and then in our plant where we load a coil that has over 5,000 pound. In that 5,000 pound coil, we can produce 4,000 parts. However, our customer may only need 2,500 parts for that day. So what we have to do is not produce the entire coil, but the coil once we get to 2,500 parts, and then reuse that coil when needed in the forecast or lineup. Then defects. Our quality department is in control of catching all defects. What we do when we load a coil of steel, we have a process where we stamp out the first 5 parts that are approved by the quality team to continue processing those parts. Once those 5 parts are proved out, then we move forward with the quality control department coming through and checking each basket when the parts are coming out every 15 to 30 minutes. That way they're controlling quality, because if there's something wrong with the die that's in the press and parts start coming out wrong, then we can stop the process and prevent pushing out more defective parts than we should, because then we'd have to scrap all those parts, and that's a waste of money. Now, which company proposed the concept of 7 wastes? That would be Toyota. The last methodology that we'll go over are the 5 steps of the 5S. We implement the 5 steps of 5S 15 minutes at the end of each shift. The operator has a standard operating procedure where the first thing he does when he's at the end of his shift, he sorts any remaining parts, any remaining tools. He sets them in order the way they should be set up in that specific area. And shine, meaning he cleans that area before he leaves, and then he standardizes it, getting it ready for the next shift operator to come in, where he doesn't waste time jumping into a shift, getting at the start of shift. And then we sustain the 5S throughout the whole process. Now, I have to say that this is a lighter version of Six Sigma. It can be a deeper dive because there's charts, diagrams, and whiteboards that give you a better idea of implementing Six. This is where we are now, and I can turn it back over to Dave and see if you have any questions.
Well, that was a great overview, and I made a ton of notes here. So I thought what we should do here to get things rolling, let's just talk a little bit about a small business. And you know, when you think about Six Sigma, you think about manufacturers, but every business has processes, and you can use these methodologies to improve and look at a process, right?
Correct. Correct. It can be done with any business, even though it was structured and founded with the automotive industry to make it more efficient. But you can utilize this with goods and services as well.
Yeah. So I can see everybody out there. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat there, and we'll talk to Trey about it. But I wonder if maybe we could do a little brainstorm, a little talking about. Let's just say I have a business and I want to improve, like my sales process. You know, from lead generation to actual sale. I mean, how would you envision you set this up using this methodology?
Well, the first thing I would do is find out where your inefficiencies are as far as your sales. Is it your salesperson? Are you looking at the wrong leads? And this kicks in with my background as sales manager. You have to qualify first off. You're going down the right direction. And then once you qualify and find out that you have the right opportunity to close your sale, what you want to do is make sure that the sales process is began where your customer, number one, the way I always sold, have a full understanding is that I sold to build a relationship. I didn't sell to just have a sale. That's what made me very successful. I was very helpful with my customers. And I always told my customer, if what I'm bringing to you can't help you, can you refer me to someone else? And I had an old sales manager to always say the sales doesn't start till you get a no. I don't adhere to that because it's like you're pushing. My team would always have outstanding sales because we build relationships first. And once you build those relationships, I can't tell you how many times I needed to make a budget or needed to help someone make a budget near the end of the quarter or near the end of the month. I would make a call, and there was always extra help. But to answer your question, it's always the beginning to qualify, get to the root cause, find out what your issues are. Could it be the salesperson that is not communicating properly? Could it be the customer that actually cannot really use your product? You know, I was in sales at Wave TV. The key thing that I would always do is make sure that the demographic that I was looking for fit the customer, because you don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time. If the demographic was 18 to 49 and it was adults 18 to 49, I would make sure that I would do research about the product and ask qualifying questions to make sure that that fit that customer's needs, because the last thing you want to do is go to them and say they need to advertise in one commercial, in one TV show, and that TV show does not fit the product.
Yeah. Like when in your instance, I mean, using Six Sigma for this problem. Let's just say that I've noticed that our close rate is down 25%, let's just say, on if we're going to keep on sales. Would you work through like the one process you talked about, the define, measure? I mean, is that how you would set up your Six Sigma process with something like this?
That would be one way of a methodology of doing it, when you define what your problem is as far as you're not meeting your sales goals. And then you measure actually why you're not meeting those measuring your sales goals, why you're not meeting your actual hard numbers. That way you can make statistical decisions on why you're not making, have hard number evidence, then you analyze that information. Once you analyze that information, you can make correct decisions moving forward. And then you implement that process. Then moving forward, you can go ahead and control it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I I kind of dipped my toe into this a little bit, and I think that the Six Sigma is basically a statistical measure, is what they're kind of talking about. So I think the measurement's really key.
Right.
And after I do like this methodology about define and then measure, because then once you have the baseline measure, then you can basically experiment, right? We're going to tweak this one little thing, and if our measures get worse, well, we're not doing that anymore. We'll try something different. And I guess
Right.
that's exactly what you were alluding to when you were telling the story about incentivizing people.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. That's correct.
Yeah. See, with this methodology, who says that? Would this be good for a Summer? Hey, Summer. Would this be a methodology be good fit for a retail application?
Yes, it would. Depending on what your problem is, the main thing, any of the methodologies can cater to what you need. You just have to fit it to initially find out what your root cause is. Once you find out what your root cause is, you can determine the methodology that will help you. And keep in mind, there's a deeper dive with all the diagrams that can be used. There's different metrics that can determine what can be given as far as your direction. That's why I highly recommend that if you really want to know more about Six Sigma, I would look into getting certification from SSGI, Six Sigma Global Institute. It can give you the deeper dive of what I was talking about, because, for example, we use whiteboards, and the whiteboards, we use them back in the press department. We show the root cause of inefficiencies on the whiteboard, but the whole press department can see the progress each day when we clearly put issues on the whiteboard. We define the problem. At the end of every shift, we discuss the problem, but we also invite ideas to solve the problem. And we go through the actual steps on the whiteboard, and we clearly mark them out in front of them. Even during the shift, they can see clearly that we've met certain objectives for that day from problems that we had either on second shift or the night before. And even when you look at 7 waste, attack the 7 waste in the shipping department as far as transportation. We attack the 7 waste as far as material handlers on a daily basis. We use those diagrams and whiteboards throughout the plant. And that way, in real time, the entire staff can see and hold each other accountable throughout the whole shift.
I guess when you say root cause, I mean, you're actually saying define the problem.
Yes.
Right? That's where you get to the root cause.
Yeah.
Summer has a great retail operation, so I'm a very big customer, so cool. So, but again, setting things up, I guess I don't know. There's always don't know who said it, but a problem well defined is a problem half solved, is where you
Yes.
take for that. Yeah. And when you were mentioning the whiteboard too, and I've tried to do this a couple times, but I don't know, I'm having a hard time with it. But if I can define the problem, let's say in someone's retail operation, um, the the next step that you would do on the whiteboard basically is put together, in essence, a process map so you can see what those steps are and where the constraints are. Is that
Correct,
what you guys do? Yeah.
correct. And that's part of the flow chart. Part of the flow chart.
Talk a little bit about how you set that up and how you look at it, what you would do. Like, and let's pretend like we're, I don't know, just, yeah, talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to give any constraints
You're
here.
fine. You're fine. What you want to do first is determine what the problem is, the root cause. And you want to, if you look at the fishbone diagram, for example, that's part of Six Sigma. You have a fishbone, you have the fish head. The fish head is the root cause of the problem. And the bones are different possibilities of the problem. You lay out all possibilities across the whole problems, all the problems that you've been running into. So you go through each problem, you solve the problem, or if you can't solve the problem, you decided that problem is causing the root cause. If it isn't, you eliminate that. You go through each one step at a time. And sometimes you have to go do a deeper dive on each problem to clarify. Sometimes you realize that after you go to several problems and you solve them, you'll have different standard operating procedures that you have to implement. It could be, perfect example, we have an issue with nuts coming off of one of our welding processes. We have to add a poke yoke to it. Poke yoke, if you go to retail, you would have to find out how to prevent that quality issue. Say you have clothes that are coming off the line and the clothes are being mislabeled. You have to find a way to, what is causing mislabel? What is causing the clothes to go down the wrong line and going through the process? Excuse me, I don't know how retail is done. I'm just using these as examples. But you lay all those out on the board. Once you lay all those out on the board, then you go through and find out how, or come up with ideas how you can stop those problems consistently at a certain level. Once you get
Mhm.
it consistently at a certain level, you want to involve, and it goes back to another idea where I'm saying the VOCs, voice of the customer, voice of the employee, the voice of the process, the voice of the business. You look at all those ideas and how to prevent those issues from happening again. But you clearly state these on the whiteboard from beginning to end, and you eliminate these problems through the process.
Yeah. But part of the process, and this is the way I've done it, and tell me if I'm on the right track or not, but like, if I'm trying to analyze and improve my customer journey, for example, like in retail, um, I would pretend I'm the customer, and like, what would the first step that I would need to do as a customer to engage with the business to get satisfaction? And then what's the second thing I would do all the way through that whole process until I've gotten my thing, or I'm out the door, I've received the service or something like that. And I guess in each one of those steps, if I follow myself, if I'm an imaginary customer, there in each one of those steps, there is processes and ways that you can analyze each of those steps and improve them to improve the overall customer journey, like step by step by step. Is that how you're kind of laying this out? Am I regurgitating it correctly?
No. That's exactly right, and that's um, part of that. One of the diagrams I referred to is the fishbone diagram, and then there's a variation stream chart. Each one of those methodologies can lay out exactly what you said from beginning to end, from the root cause all the way through different scenarios, solving those different scenarios to the end point. And the one that I like to use, of course, I refer to it again, is the fishbone diagram because it lays everything out on the whiteboard.
Mhm.
And again, if you look at the actual fish bone, each part of the bone has a problem, and you solve those problems. You walk through solving those problems step by step until you have that problem solved. And a lot of times when you lay those out on the board, step by step. You either solve the problem or realize it really isn't a problem. It's just something you need to take out of the whole process.
Right. Yeah. Yolanda, Yolanda says, as an LSS black belt, this was a great introduction to process and performance improvement. Thank you for that. And then Matt says, use a 5 why analysis for problem solving. Talk a little bit about that.
The 5 whys. The 5 whys. I have to do a deeper dive on that one. That one is I've done it several times, and sometimes we overthink the 5 whys. To be clear though, that is a methodology that I'm not 100% familiar with. So I don't want to answer that question completely.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Jim give a little, hey Jim, how are you? I mean, I keep saying that every week I need to reach out to you and get you on the schedule and get caught up. So I'm going to do it this week, promise. He just shared some a good resource I'm going to copy. Terrell says a way to start breakdown could focus on man, machine, materials, methods, or measurements. I like how everything's like 5 letters, you know, like 5 M's or 5 Y's or whatever, you know. Yeah. So I do, you know, I think, you know, for me, and please expand on this a little bit, is that, you know, often when we're as a person in charge, a leader, that we're confronted with a problem, sometimes it's just hard to know where to start to find solutions to the problem. But this is a great way to at least give you a framework to get started.
It
Right.
is. It is. What I normally do, Dave, when I go back to when I first went into manufacturing 2 years ago, I get my subject matter experts around the table first. Once I get my subject matter experts around the table, it could be for quality, it could be for engineering, it could be for just overall plant operation. Then once we get together, it's a matter of having the right people in the right seats on the bus, because then, depending on the root cause, these guys know how to brainstorm. It could be a team of 3, it could be a team of at least 5. Usually with Six Sigma, you don't want a team more than 5. But it helps to have someone that has experience utilizing or actually operating any piece of equipment that we have issues with, or someone that daily works with the issue that you're having in retail. If it's shipping, if it's in the actual organizing of the clothes. It helps if you have someone on that team that deals directly with that process, and you get the input from them. That goes back to what I was referring to, the voice of the employee. But also, it helps if you have a good relationship with your customer, and you can utilize their voice in a meeting as well. If they're having problems, say the labeling is incorrect once it gets to their shipment, or they are having parts that are being turned over in the truck by the time it gets delivered to them, or something is just quality issues that are consistently getting to the customer that shouldn't be. It helps to have a brainstorm with the customer, include them with the process as well. And also it helps if the customer's having other issues, they include you on the team to make decisions too. It's all about relationships.
Yeah. Conda says, if used correctly, the 5 whys will yield the same result as the fishbone if the goal is to get the root cause by identifying contributing factors. That's a good point. But basically 5 whys is like when you identify a problem, let's say it takes us 30 days to get our invoices out. Then you say, why? Well, because Jim's been sick a lot. Why? Well, he's, you know, got a bad disease. You know, well, that's not the right way to go down with Jim. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is like you keep asking why the thing is it is 5 times, and it kind of gets you down to some of the processes, the root causes like that, and what's contributing to that. So, these, like I said, these are all kind of like frameworks, thought processes to help you when you look at a problem, or when I look at a problem, sometimes all I can see is this giant mountain, and I need to get up to the tip top, and I don't look at the bottom, where that first step is, so this is a great way to kind of to really help you do that.
It does. And I wish that, and, you were there with me when I first started my trucking company, day one.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had a resource like this. But to be clear, though, when I first started my trucking company with one truck and a little bit of warehousing, I didn't have time to um, do anything like this. It was just reaction. It was
Yeah.
growth, in growth mode, and getting me out of the truck, getting me into the administrative part of the office, getting into sales, finding
Yeah.
reliable drivers, and not until I'd say about the 7th or 8th year could I benefit from something like this. But after that, it would be correcting a lot of reactions to grow the company. But Six Sigma would have helped me define some of the things that I implemented in the beginning of the company.
I think differently. I bet that if no matter how busy you are, if you have a tool, you'll use the tool, and just maybe carving out 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes a week to do some of this analysis. I mean, you probably would have improved a lot faster than you did as you went down your journey.
Yeah. Like I said, you were there right beside me, so I appreciate your help too.
I didn't know much about Six Sigma then either, so we were just doing what we could. Yeah. So guys, if you had any questions out there, especially specific to your business, I think it'd be interesting. We could kind of talk through something like that. Um, you know, if you have a specific business problem, maybe put it in the chat there. We can kind of talk through it a little bit, like an improvement problem. I think that if you think of your business, again, we talk a lot about manufacturing because this is where this came from. But in every business, there's processes. Accounting, that's a process. How do you do different things in accounting? The sales and marketing, how do you generate leads and get a customer? Customer fulfillment. When you get an order or a sale, I mean, what are those steps that happen? And I think that by using these techniques, you can look at them holistically and maybe make some quick improvements. I read this book a long time ago.
Times too, Dave.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they do some of these Sigma methodologies organically.
Mhm.
Once I learned Six Sigma from a yellow belt standpoint, when I reflect back on even my sales and my logistics company, sometimes if you're naturally organized and you naturally know how to back up and solve certain problems, you don't realize that you're using Six Sigma methodologies until you step back, either get certification or you reflect on, okay, I was already doing that.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing that with more structure and more documentation, because that's part of Six Sigma also, is documenting what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I read this book a long time ago. I don't know if you came across it. It's called The Goal by Elihu Goldthwait, I think is the name. And he proposed what's kind of sort of like this, the theory of constraints. Like when you lay out a process on a map, the process is only efficient as the most inefficient piece. So
Correct.
his example was like just like yours, manufacturing. He had like 3 machines that could really produce a bunch of stuff, and then the third one in line, it took it forever to get the thing through. So that was the constraint that held the rest of the line up, was that.
Right.
So, and I think this is kind of the idea when you look at a problem, a root cause problem, lay out the processes and then try to improve those processes, whatever they happen to be. So, okay, here's Matt. Matt says he has a cafe and meal plan business, and we use Six Sigma and lean manufacturing. One of the biggest things we do is by using a corrective action process. Can you dig a little deeper on when you issue corrective actions and the approval process? That's a good question. That's killer, Matt. You're killing it.
Good deal. Corrective actions in the manufacturing, I'll use that as an example.
Yeah.
Our quality department, once that we receive a quality hit, for example, and hopefully it's only the first time, we prevent it from happening again. We implement corrective actions, but we also go out to the operator. We said we bring the operator in first to make sure they understand what is not being done properly. After we do that, we document that. We have to make sure the operator understands that the root cause of what he's doing, not following standard operating procedures, is implementing and impacting, causing quality hits, causing customer dissatisfaction. Corrective actions steps would be to walk them through the actual process of the standard operating procedures. We correct that. We have to make sure that the proper forms are filled out, sent to the customer to verify that we took corrective actions. It may involve, like I said earlier, a pokey-oak to show that we did corrective actions. It also may involve where, and I hate this part because it costs us money, where we have to sort certain parts to implement corrective actions, where we shipped, say we shipped 500 parts, and we need to do corrective action by marking or certifying 5,000 parts until the corrective measures have been implemented. One thing that I'm working on that has impacted the plant before I got there is that from a flow out standpoint, if you have 50,000 parts that you produce, there's 0% flow out, meaning you have to have 50,000 perfect parts. That's impossible. But what I've been trying to do with the CEO is implement where we have at least a 0.5% flow out or 1% flow out. That way it gives us some leniency to produce and unintentionally produce one defect or a percentage of a defect. That way it didn't fall back on us where we have to stop shipment, sort, cause expedites, all that other economically impacting inefficiencies that happen. But from a corrective action standpoint, we implement that from beginning to end, and it flows back to the customer to prove that we did the corrective action. But we have to send all the documentation to the customer as well, because it goes back to the original agreement with PPAPs and all the other quality actions that are needed.
Okay. I'm pretty impressed, Matt, that in your cafe and meal plan business you use these.
That is cool. Impressive for a cafe. It really is.
Yeah. Maybe we could expand a little bit more how you use that in the chat there, Matt, so that we can all take a look at that. 30 years in automotive. That's, of course you do. Okay. Yeah.
Matt has more ones, Dave.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So, all right. Okay, that's all we got. Trey, this has been fantastic. I really do appreciate you coming in today and sharing this. This has been eye-opening for me, and I hope everybody else. I can really think about some things that I'll be implementing just around here at the Small Business Development Center.
Yeah. One thing I have to say, Dave, is that I hope everyone utilizes your services, because you were very helpful for me throughout my 11 years as I grew my company. Because I do remember from the first day when I met with you, when I didn't have a clue, our direction just had a lot of energy. And you helped me define that, helped me through my growth process, and I appreciate that.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. It was very, very rewarding for me. So I appreciate you letting me follow you along on the journey there. So, well, thanks everybody for joining us today. And Trey, thank you so much for your time today and sharing everything. So kind of wraps up another Toolkit Tuesday. And thanks again to you, Trey. Thanks, Janet, for driving the ship for us. Hope you found this useful. If you did, there's a little link in the chat that Janet put in there if you want to reach out to me and get on a Zoom call and chat about what's going on in your business. I'd be happy to help you. I'm very I really enjoy it. Do weekend stuff too. If you have just time on weekends, be happy to meet you as well. So reach out to the Small Business Development Center. We're always here to help. Trey, thank you again. Can't thank you enough.
You're welcome.
All right, Janet, thanks for driving the ship. And we will see everyone next week on another Toolkit Tuesday.